Hey, welcome back. I'm Jonas,
I'm Jackie.
and this is the fourth installment of our five-part series that we're doing this week on the belly fat problem. Just to kind of briefly recap, well, actually, before that, let me thank you. Let me go on and thank you again so much for joining in. Thank you for the interaction. Thank you for the comments, the likes, the shares. And we really are touched by how many people have reached out to us. It's a good feeling to know that we're not alone. And it's more than us knowing that. I want you to know that too. You are not alone. This is affecting, it's an epidemic in America, really, like I said, all industrialized Western nations. So the first installment, to briefly recap, was on who, who gets it. And probably if you're watching this video, that you're probably one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Second video we did was on what are the dangers. And you remember some of the dangers?
The dangers are many. There's a long list. They include diabetes, heart disease, high cholesterol, even so far as Alzheimer's, and breast and colorectal cancer.
Yeah, not a pretty list at all. So the third one, the third video we did yesterday was on how. How do you know if you have too much? And remember, we talked about some lifestyle, the effects on our lifestyle. We can't play, run on with our grandkids like we might want to. Heck, for me, even bending over and tying my shoes was like a near-death experience. Yeah, fitting into clothes,
Getting into your
shopping
clothes.
becomes traumatic and not a very fun experience. Yeah, but above that, there was some objective measures that we could take. I want to reiterate, we named off three: the Dexa Scan, the skin fold calipers, and the
Waist to hip
waist
ratio.
hip ratio. Of those three, remember the Dexa Scan is the gold standard. It is the most accurate, but it's kind of expensive, and the places I checked, last time we had an appointment, it got canceled due to COVID. So the availability may be difficult. Yeah. So use what you have at home. The methodologies we talked about yesterday, which were the
Waist to hip
waist to
ratio.
hip. That's the
Yeah,
easiest.
that's the easiest.
So today, what do we have on tap today? Today we're going to talk about
Why it is so difficult to get rid of that extra fat,
why is it so
especially
difficult?
as we
Age.
age.
Yeah. Well, jump into why is it so
Okay.
difficult?
So first we're going to talk about this big scientific word called sarcopenia. Big fancy word that means losing muscle mass as we age. So they have found in studies that people start to lose their muscle mass as they age. Funny thing is, new studies have shown that people in their 60s and 70s, if they're put on the same weight training regimen as people in their 20s, actually gain the same amount of muscle in the same amount of time. But they've also found in studies that sarcopenia is now starting to set in your 20s. So, what does that mean?
Is it really a
Is
function
it
of
really a
age?
function of age? If a 70-year-old can put on the same amount of muscle as a 20-year-old, then it can't just be a function of age.
Right.
And they've determined that it's really only a 10% of it is a function of your age. And the reason it is starting to set in people in their 20s is because of lifestyle. So after people leave college and they start working, they start to become couch potatoes. They start to become more inactive. And when you don't use your muscles start to shrink. And diet also plays a role. Their diet stinks. You know, if you're sitting around eating Doritos and you're not getting the proteins and the vitamins and minerals that you need, then there's nothing to feed your muscles, and they're going to start to get smaller.
You want to mention that lady who has done amazing things with her body?
So, Ernestine
Shepherd.
Ernestine Shepherd, if you are not sure that you can put on muscle as you age, Google Ernestine Shepherd. At 82, she is 84 now. At 82, she was still competing in bodybuilding. And I mean, she looked stinking amazing.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And I know this series is on fat loss, not necessarily muscle gain, but you'll see how the two are intimately connected, especially in tomorrow's episode. But today as well, because we're going into the second part of the equation as to why it's so hard to lose. Once you start getting some fat, accumulating fat, why is it so hard to get rid of it? Well, the second scientific principle that we're going to talk about today is calorie partitioning, also called nutrient partitioning or energy partitioning. But calorie partitioning is simply this. Okay? Your body is an environment in which there are different kinds of cells. The two biggest groups of cells that you have are fat cells and muscle cells. Every cell in your body is competing for that next unit of energy that comes in, the next calorie. A calorie is just a measure of energy. It's like an inch or a foot. It's just an arbitrary measurement of energy. Okay? It's not a thing, it's a measurement. But that next calorie that comes in, that next piece of energy that comes in, every cell in your body wants it. They're in competition trying to grab it. Okay? Calorie partitioning simply states that some of your cells are more competitive than others in getting that next calorie that comes in. Now, so what does that have to do with getting fat? All right. Well, first of all, we're predisposed by genetics to, some of us are blessed with muscle cells that are really competitive, and they grab that next calorie and they add it to skeletal muscle tissue and, synthesize it as protein in skeletal muscle tissue. They build muscle and they starve the fat. Some of us are not so lucky by genetics, and our fat cells are really competitive. They're really good. And they grab that next unit of energy and store it as body fat. Okay? So most of us are somewhere kind of in the middle. But over time, the relative competitiveness of the two groups of cells can change. And here's how. Okay. There's basically two different ways you can put on body fat. First of all, you'll store fatty acids in your existing your existing fat cells until they swell up, get really big. Well, when they get to a certain size, they don't get any bigger, they duplicate. They undergo meiosis, and they duplicate, so you grow more fat cells. Well, as you can imagine, here's our starting, for example, here's our starting ratio. You have team muscle and you have team fat. And let's say you've got an equal number of each. Well, I eat a little too much over the course of, several months, and I accumulate a fat store such that my fat cells duplicate. Well, now we've got a 2-to-1 ratio. We've got more fat cells than muscle cells. More fat cells competing for that next calorie that comes in. My fat cells are getting a competitive advantage over the muscle cells simply because there's more of them, right? Well, let's duplicate and duplicate and duplicate and duplicate, excuse me. Getting tongue-tied, right? So you end up with a situation like this. It just snowballs. The more fat cells that you have,
team fat is winning.
Yeah, they get at a competitive advantage over team muscle, and you are even more likely, to store that next calorie that comes in as body fat. So my gosh, it's just a big snowball effect. You accumulate a little bit of body fat, and your body becomes an environment in which you are more likely to store more body fat. And then you will store more body fat and more body fat. And it's a vicious cycle, you guys. You put on a little bit of fat, and it's a snowball effect. It's a vicious cycle. It's a dangerous cycle. It is a cycle of death. And the most dangerous thing we can possibly do is nothing. Just let it happen. Because that is, the biology involved is when you get past your prime, biology says you're done. You're done with planet Earth. We're done with you. You have gone through your prime, now you're aging and you're heading out the door. So we want to shift everything that we can in our body to an environment that more resembles that of someone in their prime. And tomorrow, we're going to talk about the what. What can we actually do about this? What are the steps we can take? You know, once this starts happening, are we just done for? Should we just throw in the towel?
Are we?
No, we don't do that. No, we're fighters, darn it. We got people depending on us. We got loved ones, we got children, we got grandchildren. We got people that want to see us around for a while, you know? Kids that want to play with us. Anyway, people in the community who love us and like to see our smiling faces every now and then, you know? We're all in this together. But anyway, again, so the big takeaways from this are there's two main factors that are responsible for why this body fat, this belly fat in particular, is so stubborn. Why is it so hard to get rid of? Right? Sarcopenia, which is muscle wasting,
Which can be reversed.
and it may not actually have to do with age as much as was previously believed. And energy partitioning, which is that snowball effect of putting on a little bit of fat, puts you in an environment where you're going to put on more and more and more. So now that we've defined the problem, we've figured out what the dangers are and who it applies to, and we've gone into some of the science behind why. Now we need to look and see if there are concrete things we can do to address these. What are the things that actually matter? What are the things that we can actually do? Yeah. Cool.
If any of this information was new to you and you found it very interesting, please drop us a comment below and let us know. I know when I learned all of this, it was very interesting for me, but I'm a science nerd, so.
And for any of you science nerds out there, comment below if you'd like more information, and maybe we can post some of the scientific
studies.
research articles, or even maybe some pictures of Ernestine Shepherd. She's so
Oh,
awesome.
she is so awesome.
Yeah, she is. Anyway, God bless you. We love you. Thank you for joining us, and be sure to tune in tomorrow when we're going to tie it all together. We're going to bring all these pieces together and
Find a
figure out
solution.
what we can do. God bless you. See you tomorrow.
Same time, same kitchen.
Yep. Bye. y'all.
Bye.
See if I can navigate this end live process a little bit more elegantly.